Alright fellas, now UFC 308 certainly lived up to the hype. This event was stacked and the main event featured one of the more interesting stylistic matchups. In what was really Battle of the UFC boxers, it was going to end up a striking battle, and that was destined not to disappoint. So with the big match finally going down, I wanted to break it down and have a look at what could be next for the both of them. And just before we get into it, if you love everything MMA, you found yourself in the right place, and make sure to subscribe as I'll be covering everything UFC 308 over the next few days. Now what I think made this fight so hyped was what led up to the matchup. Topuria in his last bout made his name by defeating Volkanovski and claiming the belt, while Holloway in his last fight had one of the best moments of the year with that incredible knockout and claiming the BMF belt. Originally I was a bit surprised that they made this matchup happen, yet sometimes the UFC matchmakers actually do their job correctly and make the fights which everyone wants to see. Topuria was the betting favourite going into the fight, yet with both of them having dynamite in their hands, it could have swung either way. And we saw exactly that. Over the fight, we saw Topuria effectively use his arsenal of striking, and we saw Holloway try his best to keep Topuria at bay using that jab and reach to try keep him at distance. At times, it appeared Holloway was assuming control, yet the pressure from Topuria was relentless. And that pressure resulted in the right hook which cracked Holloway, a flurry of shots, and then the left hook which sent him to the canvas. And then after some short punches and hammer fists, it was all over. Topuria defended his title for the first time in his career, and the champ delivered on his promise to knock out Holloway. So after the dramatic knockout, the question turns to what's next for the both of them. Let's start with Holloway. Now I've seen everyone on Twitter being like this will be the start of his downfall and he's destined to end up like a Tony Ferguson. But it's just a bit early to start seriously talking like that. Max Holloway is only 32, but it's felt like he's been around for a hot minute. He will most likely end up moving up a division, with the idea of going to 155 being the most likely. In a post-fight press conference, a potential third matchup against Dustin Poirier was floated in his retirement fight, and Holloway seemed on board. This would mark the third time that the two have faced, with Poirier getting the wins both times previous. Yet, if not Dustin, I don't see this as the end of Holloway, yet moving forwards will be fascinating. You have Holloway, who is still the BMF champ, yet after getting knocked out like that, how do you promote him as one? The whole idea of the holder of the BMF is he's meant to be the baddest guy in the promotion, and to have that as your main promotional point after this will be interesting to see how they move forwards. Will they strip him of the belt, or will we maybe not even see the belt ever again, or at least in the near future? Let me know what you think might be next for the BMF belt down below. A proper move up to lightweight where we can see him challenging for the title, I think, is almost impossible. Now Holloway is technically ranked already within the lightweight ranks at number 5, yet this division is full of killers. I think maybe the winner of Chandler vs Oliveira could be interesting if the belt is held up, which it might be. Or how about a Dan Hooker matchup? I think realistically for me, I want to see him in there with either Poirier or Dan Hooker. I don't want to see him in there against a smaller name, because now if he gets beat, it could be Tony Ferguson time. And then I don't want to see Paddy vs Holloway down the road. Now we turn to Topuria, and we got to give him his flowers. Back to back, he has defeated some of the biggest names of the division. After this fight, somehow he got his hands on the BMF belt. Just how did that happen? But he got to further his Conor McGregor cosplay experience by strutting around with 2 belts. For the UFC, with a lot of upsets happening recently, Topuria is now one of the biggest names that they will want to push, and I think he has a pretty bright future ahead of him. Although he was talking about moving up and trying to become double champ, Islam looks set to move up himself and face the winner of Belal vs Shavkat, so that's not going to happen anytime soon. And I do agree with Dana White, he has only defended the belt once. Maybe in a year we should look at the possibility for him to move up and become double champ. But honestly, I can't see Topuria doing much better than the first Volk performance. Now Volk over the last couple weeks has been on that promo campaign for the upcoming Sydney UFC event early next year, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them run it back then. Volk has already called him out, and this is probably the biggest fight that they can make in the division at the moment. For Topuria, he wants to bring a fight back to Madrid, and that's still a very real prospect. Yet with the UFC Sydney card already being announced to take place, and they need a big match to fill the spot, early next year, few months to prepare, really it makes sense. Anyway, let's be honest, the fans won today. It was a sick card, and the consequences of these wins and losses could set up some majorly exciting fights for early next year. This win legitimizes Topuria, but I don't think this loss really harms Holloway's legacy. But what comes next for both will be absolutely crucial. Yet this fight was just one of quite a few bangers that happened today, so let me know out of the other fights what you want me to talk about next down below. I also want to hear all your thoughts on what could be next for the both of them and what you thought of this performance. If you did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing, it really does a lot to help the channel. But thanks for watching fellas, and I'll catch you in the next one.